Ben, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Doing good. Pumped to have you on the show. You just got done with your big book launch, and we both use a good friend of ours, Zach at Scribe, so shout out to him. But I got to say, man, when we sat down, it was one of the funnest meetings I had in a while because there was enough air, oxygen in the room for both of us. So we'll
That's awesome,
hopefully give both of you most of the oxygen here. And for the people that don't know about Woodchuck USA and your story, let's go back. Like, how did you become an entrepreneur, and what's the business that you're in today?
Yeah, totally. So, and I'll apologize on the front end. My voice is still half gone from the book launch. So if I squeak like I'm going through puberty, please forgive that. But so started the company. I was a senior in college at the University of Minnesota. Went to school for architecture. Was working a couple jobs to pay for school, and one of the jobs that I worked, I basically built models for an architecture company. And I would go in late at night after cheer practice, and I'd go basically cut out wood stickers and stick them onto these plexiglass frames and build these incredible architectural models. Well, one day, rollerblading, I ate shit and shattered my iPhone 4 and decided, hey, I need to do something about this. I don't keep stabbing my face with glass. So I ended up just cutting out a wood sticker. I stuck it on my phone, the front and the back. Started kind of showing buddies here and there. And I got to cheer practice the next day. My buddy was like, hey, dude, can you make one of those for my phone and I'll give you a case of beer? And I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's done.
So, I mean, literally had no intentions, of starting a business or having a bunch of employees or planting trees all over the world. I literally was just getting a case of beer. I mean, there was nothing really major to that. So just kind of made them here and there. Ended up bringing on a friend, after a couple months of making these things here and there, and started kind of selling them into like bookstores and stuff like that. But when I was about to graduate, I worked really, really hard. Ended up graduating at the top of my class. I had 2 full rides to go to grad school, one to MIT, one to Colorado. And I asked at the time, both of my architecture mentors, I said, hey, should I start this business or should I go to grad school? And both of them said, go start the business. You're going to learn more in 2 years than you ever will in grad school. So that's what I did. I turned down the scholarships, and my buddy and I, Kevin and I, with no business experience, started a business.
I love it.
And that was the start of it.
And so that was how many years ago?
That was in 2012. So that was 7 years ago.
And right now, how many employees do you guys have? And maybe kind of give the full kind of suite of services and the products that you guys have.
Yeah. So, now what we do is we are one of the world's largest socially responsible wood product manufacturers. We design and manufacture hundreds of thousands of products every single day, ranging from custom wood journals to custom wood paneling. We do architectural interiors. We do stationery, all different types of products. A lot of what we do is corporate gifting. We put companies' logos on products, like a wood journal, for example. We might put the Bank of America logo on a wood journal and ship that out to 10,000 of their employees. Or we might, put the Nike logo on 20,000 business card holders and ship that out to all of their employees.
Or make the world's biggest pickle.
Or make the world's largest wooden pickle. Yes, that is absolutely accurate.
For the listeners, I was sitting in Ben's office, and all of a sudden, I'm like, "What's that?" And it looked like a table, and he's like, "It's a pickle," and I was like, "You're right, it's a pickle."
That is a super random. Yeah, that's for My Burger. The guys over at My Burger. So if they're listening to this, thanks guys for the order on the pickle. So we basically put wood on all kinds of things. And where the company really took a turn, so to answer your question more thoroughly, we're a multi-million-dollar wood products manufacturer. We have almost 50 employees now here based in Minnesota, all American-made manufacturing. This is where we do all of our manufacturing. As of the end of today, we'll be FSC certified, and we'll have planted over almost 2 million trees on 6 different continents through our Buy One, Plant One program that we started about 2 years ago, which is just like it sounds. For every product we make, we plant the tree. But really where we took off and really kind of where we turned a corner was when we sat down and we watched a Simon Sinek TED Talk called Start With Why. Right? And the actual title of the TED Talk is Great Leaders Inspire Action. But that sitting down with Kevin at the time at my ghetto South Minneapolis house, which was in my living room, which was also our office, we watched this TED talk and realized, hey, we don't want to make wood phone cases the rest of our lives. We want to figure out, how do we put nature back into people's lives, and how do we bring jobs back to the U.S. Those were kind of our core pieces, and neither one of those things, frankly, has anything to do with wood phone cases. It could, but that's what we kind of came up with as like a passion thing, and that's really where it like.
So did you do that, Ben, prior? And you can tell the story about how you decided to do the buy one plant. Was that prior to then determining?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Kind of explain maybe that leads up to your whole experience and when you had the aha kind of moment.
Yeah. So basically that happened. We kind of sat down and realized, hey, this company needs a vision, needs a mission, and this is kind of our core to who we are. This is our why, and this is why we're going to start this business. We want to figure out how to connect people to nature. So we did that, and in the beginning, it was literally just by making wood products and helping people have a reminder of kind of that natural product in their hands as a reminder of kind of nature in daily life. Whether that was a wood journal or a wood pen or a wood phone case, it's kind of that reminder. Well, with our focus, by setting that as our why, our continued focus was always on, how do we connect people with nature? How do we connect people with nature? How do we connect people with nature? Which led to kind of this continuous thought of, how do we do that? And led to our Buy One Plant One program, which started, I believe, in 2016.
Well, and explain your running story is kind of what I was getting at.
Yeah.
It's I think it's huge when you described like how you actually came up with that.
Yeah. So we were out in San Francisco, Kevin and I, on a sales trip, and I always, whenever I'm out traveling for work, I always love kind of getting out and into nature for a little bit and checking out like the national parks that are close by or whatever. So I ended up going for a run in this beautiful, beautiful park in San Francisco. Huge, 80-foot tall, 100-foot tall trees. Went for a couple-mile run, and as I was coming back up, I looked at this sign, and the sign had said, basically the whole forest that I had just run through wasn't there 100 years ago. And that some guy decided, some super rich dude back in the day, decided to plant this area that I just ran through. And I was like, holy fucking shit. That is really cool. Like,
that wasn't there, now it is.
That wasn't there, now it is. I can be doing this. Our company could be doing this on a global scale if we just maybe plant a tree for every product we sell. So I looked that day, I was like, buy one, plant one. We got to do it. And at first I was a little skeptical, and I've always kind of been skeptical of the one for one just because a lot of people have done it. But at the end of the day, there's a reason why a lot of people have done it. It's because it works. It's simple. It's a clear cut message, so people can understand what you're talking about and what it is that you're doing. So initially we were like, okay, cool. Yeah, like we'll plant a tree for every product we sell. And we really focused on developing a lot of IP around that to protect ourselves. But we focused on that, launched it, and realized within the first month that, because we were like, oh, okay, cool, we'll plant a couple thousand or maybe 10,000 trees a year. Well, when it really picked up, we were like, holy shit, we got to plant like 10,000 trees a day.
The whole business in itself.
So we had to, literally it is. We had to really develop this entire program, which has been kind of my focus around how do we have a global impact with our planting program? What are the criteria of the planting program? How do we make this something that can and does have a global impact?
Mm-hmm.
We kind of set out on this vision and this journey of being able to plant on every continent, which we achieved about a year after the Buy One Plant One program started, which was incredible. I mean, we thought it would take us years to be able to do this. Technically, we did not plant in Antarctica. We tried. We were going to. We planted in Ushuaia, which is basically the southernmost tip of where we could plant. But we were successful with that, and we kind of repositioned our strategy this last year to be focusing more on local involvement and kind of in micro
communities and
micro communities.
Well, yeah. And so what I want to do, Ben, is I want to dive into why you decided to do that, and then also what your hesitation was with the Buy One Plant. Because maybe start from the top, because for the listeners, we got a wide spectrum of listeners, from baby boomers to millennials, all the different kind of entrepreneurs that are out there. And there's this lot of everybody in a lot of these business groups that I'm in, like the older owners sometimes bitch about millennials going, hey, everybody wants a purpose. Everybody wants a purpose. But the reality is there's a lot of truth to that, right? I mean, Tom's Shoes and Patagonia, you can kind of explain some of that. But you and I really hit it off when we were talking about conscious capitalism and then also social responsibility, but how you're tying that to that why. So maybe just give a broad brushstroke on your articulation of social entrepreneurship, conscious capitalism, and then how it goes into the bottom line and what you're doing.
I mean, to be straight up, all these guys are saying, oh, everyone wants a purpose. Because they fucking do. I mean, so do it. You know what I mean? Like we do. Millennials and the younger generation, we want to understand, from coworkers to consumers, we want to know that what we're doing is having an impact. I mean, that's just the fact of the matter.
Right. Because like if you can buy, I need to think about it from a consumer's perspective, right? If you can buy one thing versus the other, like what's the point? It's all commodities, right? I mean, like,
right. And honestly, and even in a lot of cases, there's a lot of research out there that says people will pay more for products with a purpose. And I don't know how much maybe they'll pay 5% more, but when you're talking 40, 50% more, I don't know if people are that dedicated to the purpose. Some of them are. There's probably a small amount that are, but it's almost expected today in products and from consumers, at least the younger demographic. Personally, I think it's great. I mean, I think that's great. I think even if I had to start a new company today, I would want to start one with a purpose, because why else start a business, in my opinion?
And maybe you're about to get to it, but it's like I think a lot of people feel anxiety of like, how do I find a purpose? Which is sad when people don't know how to like literally zero in and figure out what their purpose is or their business's purpose is. But like, how do you tie that purpose, that vague concept, into something that's applicable and like, so you got the buy one plant one. There's things like the double bottom line, triple bottom line, or B Corp 20%. So how did you navigate all those that whole world to get what you're at, and what are your thoughts on like what people are dealing with?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it was definitely ideal for us to sit down in the very early stages of the company and say, hey, this is our purpose, this is our why, this is what we want to accomplish in the world. It is definitely more difficult than I would fully understand how it'd be more difficult for, a 30-year-old manufacturer, a 30-year-old company to kind of revive themselves and say, this is our purpose. But it's been done millions of times, and it can be done, and it can be done very well. It's clear to consumers when you're a large company and you just kind of half attach yourself to like a cause and be like, oh, this is our why. But it's not actually. I mean, it's like super blatantly obvious. And consumers can see right through that. But I mean, at the end of the day, it can be done. You can develop a why. I actually had a consulting company. So I've been starting to do one of the main purposes of launching my book, The World Needs Your Fucking Ideas, is to help other companies obtain this kind of social message and understand that a triple bottom line can be more profitable than a bottom line. And one of the companies that I'm going to be doing some consulting for is a company that helps implement nuclear strategy in Japan. So like they basically, after the tsunami, I think all of the nuclear plants shut down and a lot of the cores melted. This is just from my limited understanding of the business so far. We've talked once. I meet with them next week. So I mean, first off, I know nothing about nuclear energy. I mean, I know a little bit, but like, I'm not a nuclear scientist for fucking sure. And but what I am is I do understand that what they could connect with or opportunities of what they could frame that why around. A lot of the people in their company, they're helping go back into these nuclear plants and help implement responsible procedures. So if another tsunami does happen, another earthquake does happen, that the whole thing doesn't just collapse. And shut down. So, I mean, totally crazy, but they're like, the one of the things we really want to implement, we want to figure out is this kind of why, or what, that so we can have an advantage against our competitor, because the person who's in charge of these things more so now moving in Japan, they care about that as well. So it's okay. Well, excuse me. So it's okay. Well, why are you guys doing what you're doing? Why would you want to even help them in the first place? And you can, by kind of diving into the individual whys, you can kind of form a collective why. Most of the time, at least I've seen, very few times has no one's had any understanding of why they're doing what they're doing. And you can usually tie that collective why back to, well, you can usually tie the individual whys back to a collective why that everyone shares and is super organic and seems natural.
So then,
So,
well, as I said, then maybe to tie that. So let's take that train of thought, Ben, and go. So we got the individual whys to a collective why. We're rallying around this purpose bigger than the company and the people, right? So then, how do you take that and then drive that down? And before you get into like ways of, I want to get to how do you articulate, buy one, plant one. What are the different variations of how you can implement social entrepreneurship into the business, and besides just the one for one? But before you do that and kind of give some of your ideas on how you get to that, can you maybe, for the listeners that are not familiar with it, just give your articulation of the double bottom line, the triple bottom line, and how that actually makes sense, and then why you believe that makes a company more profitable?
Yeah, I totally can. So in my knowledge, it's going to be based on the demographic that we sell to. So, there are for sure still companies out there that are selling to demographics that aren't familiar with or don't necessarily care about social entrepreneurship. Which I think in the next 5 to 10 years will completely change. Every business will have to have some type of social cause, some type of you know
Purpose behind it. I mean, yeah.
social component to it. I think it will just become a complete necessity for 100% of companies. But in our business specifically, how it impacted our ability to grow and our ability to be the size that we are now was the ability to communicate what the passion was in the directness on our social mission. Our social mission was to connect people with nature, put nature back into people's lives, and bring jobs back to the US. That was our social mission.
Mm-hmm.
Planting trees is a great way to protect the environment and make sure that nature still exists so people can enjoy it. That's something that's pretty easy to understand. By implementing that and communicating that very clearly, which our very clear communication is buy one, plant one, consumers are able to make that connection easier and quicker in their minds, and they will buy into the product, or they will buy the product because it is easy to understand. They understand the cause, they understand the mission, they obviously understand the product,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're willing to buy it.
Mm-hmm. So with that, and so maybe from a financial perspective, that from the skeptics that are out there, because I totally believe it, right? You and I have totally rallied around this stuff,
Yeah.
and I totally 100% also agree with the 5 to 10 years out. It's going to have to be a table stakes, because if I'm going to buy promo products for my client, like, I'm choosing between you and 2,000 other people out there, right? So I might as well buy something that I like, but it's because someone that believes what I believe. Kind of going back, I don't know if you're familiar with Seth Godin, but he's like, you buy things from people that believe what you believe. And, Simon Sinek also says the same thing. But, so yes, that generates more profit. So let's say, you're generating more cash, because you're going to have to fund the operations of planting 2 million trees, right? So that's
Right.
But then you maybe if there's not enough detail that you have right on hand, but like the double bottom line, triple bottom line, these are things that get rolled out. So is it like, I think in B Corps, and this is from my understanding, B Corps allocate 20% of their profits, right? And management has some say over that, but there's different ways to actually like engineer how that money is getting allocated, or how, because like you're going to have additional cost structures to do this. So, it's all feel good, but then like financially, what does this do? So hopefully we can articulate people are buying more, but you understand the question?
Yeah, totally. So from a technical and practical standpoint, so if I'm the CEO of a 30-year-old manufacturing company that didn't have a social mission before, and I'm making 7 to 10% to the bottom line, I'm going to be skeptical too. Of okay, well, how is this actually going to help me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is good. I mean, you should be. Yeah. So from our perspective, and for us specifically, the triple bottom line and the ability to broadcast a message of sustainability that we're actually doing, for sure is the biggest driver is on the top line. Clearly, it's going to cost more money to fund a program that we didn't have before, or that, let's just say there's a Woodchuck knockoff that doesn't have a social mission that makes wood products.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to have the cost of planting trees. They're not going to have the cost of intellectual property on all the trademarks and all the copyrights that we have to get. They're not going to have all of these extra costs. However, without those things, without the cost of, IP and protecting ourselves. We would have had our brand stolen already. Without the cost of actually planting trees, we would not be the size we are, because about 75% of our deals come in because specifically of the buy one plant one program. So yes, we would be, without a social mission, we'd be about 25% of the size we are. We'd be still growing, but growing slowly. We would have some profit.
Yeah, no, I think and it's so important, because I think it really comes down to also understanding like so I mean, it's almost one of those things where you and I just kind of go duh, right? But I think the biggest challenge you do see is the people that have to reinvent themselves when they're already
The
squeaking.
reinventing, I think, is for sure. I mean, the reinventing would be the tough thing. I mean, we work with a lot of old manufacturers that don't have a social cost, and that's actually what gets me super jacked up. That's why, when we talked, we got super jacked up about that. That I got super jacked up about that, because there's an opportunity, with this new wave. And like I said, and as you know too, there's a lot of manufacturers that don't right now because they don't have to. There's still buyers that really, hey, some buyers don't care. Okay, cool, you donate some money, I don't really care.
But you know what's interesting on
our
that?
demo cares.
Well, your demo cares, but here's the reality: like, whether people believe it or not, this is what you and I and our friend Jason was talking about, is that millennials are literally a bigger cohort than the boomers, right? So the boomers are now retiring. Our buying power in corporate America and or with our salaries is going to supersede theirs if it hasn't already. So like, I mean, literally, I have seen random freaking products being shown up in my house because my wife is on this kick. I'm like, I'm no longer using, Tide, and I'm no longer using Windex, and I've got like random like shampoo shit, all the stuff that my mom bought me when I was 5 that I've been buying for 30 plus years. It's now no longer there because she's got this whole, like, it matters. I'm like, well, that's thousands of dollars of shit that I'm buying every single month that's no longer getting bought anymore. So explain your book, man. Like, what was the purpose behind the book? What are the fucking ideas that we all need to be spewing?
So the book, The World Needs Your Fucking Ideas. It came up about a year and a half ago, when I realized that I needed to actually write a book. It was like a year and a half ago. But through the past 7 years, I've been very, very fortunate with this company. I've gotten to travel to all 7 continents, over 30 countries. I met some fucking incredible people with incredible ideas. People in Africa that have ideas for water purification. People in Svalbard that are interested in seed restoration and seed vaults. There's like incredible ideas. And I realized, and as an entrepreneur, as I'm sure you get to, like, people come up to you asking, oh, hey, I got this idea, right? Everyone fucking does that. Which is great. Which is great. And what I realized is so many people weren't doing their ideas. So many people weren't doing their ideas. And I was like, why the fuck are people doing their ideas? There's some really great ideas. I truly believe that today on this planet, if all of the humans that had ideas implemented those ideas, we would solve all of our world problems.
I would agree with that.
And so I said, well, why the fuck aren't people doing them? So I kind of started diving into it. And they kind of came up with 3 common perceived limitations or perceived misconceptions. And the first one was that, hey, I can't be an entrepreneur. I need a couple $1 million to start a business, which we don't. In my book, I take it through, hey, I was a broke ass farm kid. I grew up with no money. I worked my ass off to pay myself through college. And I was able to start multiple multi-million-dollar businesses. There's no excuse there. The second one was, oh, I don't have enough schooling. I need to go to Harvard and get my MBA from Harvard in order to start a business. And that's bullshit too. I went to architecture school. I knew nothing about business. I don't even know what a fucking invoice was when I started the business. Seriously.
Like, wait a second, I need to get that money back, so I'm going to send this paper that's called an invoice.
So anyway, and then the final one was, people just really didn't know what was the next step to take. They literally just didn't know, what is the next step. Just kind of like for me right now, I'm on this new journey of being an author and speaking all over the place. A lot of the shit, I just actually don't know what the fuck else. What is the next step? So I've gotten mentors that, hey, these are the next steps you take. This is how you do it. So anyway, I walk through, there's 14 chapters, and I walk through a lot of the shit that I learned in business. I talk about real life stories. I talk about, the first time I got sued, the first retail store that we got into, and all these like things that most entrepreneurs don't talk about. Because I want to make it real. Like, I'm a real fucking dude. I'm not like some superstar crazy entrepreneur that is
Ivory
untouchable.
Tower.
Yeah, dude, I'm a fucking farm kid from Wisconsin, and that's who I still am. And I just happen to have, figure out how to make socially responsible businesses work and help the planet. And I want to help. And what I realized, and kind of the main tipping point for me was, well, one, I just like to be busy, but two was, I realized that, okay, cool, what we're doing here with Woodchuck is great. We're planting millions of trees all over the world, but in order to have like 10x, impact or 100x impact, it's not going to happen by building one company. In order to have 100x impact, I have to help other people start their own woodchucks to have the type of impact that I can have. And I felt like I had a calling, hey, that I need to write this fucking book. I need to get out and be speaking to people and help other people start these businesses like Woodchuck, so we can truly solve the world's problems.
Do you think is it helping people start businesses, or do you think where's the bigger opportunity? Helping people start businesses or helping people reinvent current businesses? Or
I think it's this, and because it's not all the time just starting businesses, and this is the thing that I'm realizing, doing more speaking and everything like that on this, and really talking through it on a lot of these podcasts and stuff is actually this kind of phrase that I'm gonna that I've coined and I already started developing the IP around as well, is releasing your inner entrepreneur. Because for some people, they should work a 9-to-5 job. That's their fucking deal, and that is good for them, and they enjoy that, and that's fantastic, and that's their happy zone. But they do still have an idea, and they maybe it's starting a kind of a once a month trash cleanup in the parks or on the streets or whatever it is, and maybe they've kind of had that idea or whatever to start that, and it might not be starting a business. It might just be once a month facilitating some kind of group meetup to clean up trash or something like that. For some people, it might be starting a business. But releasing your inner entrepreneur and not dying, not going to the grave with the ideas that you have in your head is the number one biggest opportunity. And it's an opportunity for businesses too. And kind of this is going to be the core of people I'm speaking to, is going to be going into corporations and saying, it will benefit your bottom line if your employees are more entrepreneurial and they are continuously thinking, how can we make this better? How can we do this better? How can we improve this? Even if it's a small thing, even if it's, hey, I'm a worker on the manufacturing line and the boxes come to me this way and they go out this way. But if they went just slightly more this way, it would take 13 and a half less minutes to do that. We should do that.
Was it in Conscious Capitalism, Ben, or maybe it was a different book I read recently where like one of the coolest ideas I've heard is this CEO of this company was $700 million. I think it was like a chip manufacturer or something like that, like an actual mechanical electronic chips, right? And it was $700 million when he got in charge, and then he turned into a $3.5 billion company. And he was, well, I got a lot of problems, and he goes, and I have like tens of thousands of employees. He started posting his problems on the internet. He's like, by the way, here's all the shit I'm dealing with. Who can help me? And he had like tens of thousands of people giving him ideas to fix the shit. And he's like, now I was just doing and implementing what everybody told me to do. And it was just like, yeah, that's a good idea.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
It's like, because, trying to pretend like you've got all the answers. It's like, it's total bullshit, man. Like, you don't have all the answers. And it's interesting. So Shauna Core wrote this book called The Happiness Advantage, and his definition of happiness. And I see this, and that's kind of the premise of this podcast, right? Is a lot of these entrepreneurs sell their business and they completely die because your business it's so infused with your identity. You mean if Woodchuck just disappeared tomorrow, you'd have to rebuild your platform and your identity. It's just so infused. But so Shauna Core says that happiness is defined as the joy you feel in pursuit of your fullest potential. So it's not a thing. It's like this whole, and I believe there's a couple other books that kind of validate this, but it's like we as humans want to create. And if we're not creating, we actually don't get to experience ourselves, because you need relativity in the world. So if you and I have this engagement, then like I know more about myself, right? So you have to get out there and so creation, which is at the heart of entrepreneurship, is like experiencing yourself and therefore is happiness. But if you eliminate this shit, it's like, then all of a sudden you're dying. And like, I think that's what you're doing is like, dude, okay, how fulfilling is making steel rods for people? I mean, come on. Like, like really be serious, right? Like, so yeah, you might be doing $2 million in profit, but like, are you really that happy? Like, come on, you have to like have something else that's enjoyable, right?
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, that's that's the opportunity that you and I had talked about too. And I think there's a huge opportunity because 10 or 15 years from now, the millennials will be the buyers for steel rods. And they're going to have an option. They can buy steel rods from Steel Rod Guy, or they can buy steel rods that provide steel rods for Ugandan buildings
or bridges or houses or whatever.
1% of their profits help build, donate steel rods to Ugandan buildings that are going to be structurally sound. And where are they going to buy from? They're going to buy from the fucking guy that's giving 1% of his profits to the Ugandan people to build their shit.
Right. Well, if you're an owner of a company right now that is already stuck in the ways, right? So what would you do to take your book's philosophy of like all these people have ideas and the fact that you're trying to find your winder person? What's actionable if you're stuck with 50 employees and you're making the steel rods? Like, what do you do? Like, how do you?
It's engaging the employees. I mean, I have sat with, people. We work with a lot of manufacturers with our product because a lot of times we are assembling our product onto other products. A lot of times we're sticking basically our wood onto other products to have a value add. And these people seriously have great fucking ideas. I mean, literally, like people on our line I'm not even kidding. I mean, they have incredible ideas on how to make stuff more efficient, more effective, better, less waste. I mean, they seriously have these incredible ideas. If you're stuck and you don't know, what do we do? What is our why? How do we get everyone to kind of come in around it and support this mission? It has to come from them. It has to come from the whole body. You can't just say the dictator status of I'm the CEO and we are going to now give 15% of our profits. That's a lot. Now we're going to give 3% of our profits. We're going to have no profit anymore. No, we're going to give 3% of our profits to XYZ nonprofit. This is why we're going to do this. They don't fucking care. Then they're not going to care. Yeah. But if Jeannie and George and everybody that's in the back and everyone that's in the warehouse all come together and pool their ideas, and you come and say, hey, this was the collective of why you guys are working here. Now, everybody here really is, I don't know, I'm just going to make shit up now. Everyone is really passionate about dogs. Mm-hmm. Everyone, 90% of you guys here have dogs and really passionate about dogs and homelessness of dogs or whatever the fuck it is, right. Hey, and we're gonna donate profits back to supporting dog homeless shelters or helping dogs get foster parents or whatever the thing is. And people are going to care about that. They're going to say, I love dogs and my company, helps dogs not have to go to the dog or whatever the thing is.
All I'm thinking about is the Sarah McLachlan video right now of the dog.
Yeah. Arms of an angel, fly away.
Yeah, I can't sing worth anything, so I'm glad you did that. But think about it, but you've got all these homeless dogs, but you and that's where I think you hit a huge point when we were in one of our get-togethers of like making it simple, right? So like I think what a lot of people do, and I think there's I challenge that the baby boomers who are listening to like really like think about this and not just pretend like, hey, like, cause we used to write checks to charities, man, when we had our company. No one gives a shit. It means nothing. And then the charities, like how many charities actually manage the funds correctly? Cause it goes to the executive director and then so great. There was 1% of 1% that went to like the meal at the homeless person,
right?
And making it like actually like tangible, right? Like, so whether in the steel rod thing, like making making cages for animals or something.
Yeah. The clear benefit of starting a company with a mission before you build it is like it can be whatever the fuck you want it to be. If you're passionate about like, I don't know, drinking Celsius or like trees or whatever it is, I mean, that's the clear benefit. But yeah, I mean, obviously there are hundreds and thousands of companies out there now that haven't, for those that haven't started with a mission, they're going to have to pool those ideas and those concepts because frankly, if, like, let's say I have 100 employees and I'm super passionate about dogs, but my employees aren't, I say, hey, we're going to give 3% of our profits to dog homeless shelters. It's going to de-incentivize them. They're going to be like, what the fuck? Like, I don't care about dogs. I want I want to get paid more, or,
Yep.
I want better health care, or like, I want to protect the park that we all go to, whatever the thing is. So, anyway.
No, I think it's huge because, like, there's I'm just thinking about when we were turning our business around, we had to do it because of financial reasons. But so that, like, we had the catalyst to do a lot of this stuff, but, like, people that don't need to, I think, and this is for my own opinion, is that, like, you're going to have to. So even if this sounds mushy gushy, intangible, like, I think that you, from a competitive reason to keep that bottom line, you have to do it. So even though if you don't,
Yeah.
I don't know what your thoughts are, but
And in my opinion, and in my proven financial opinion, there is a clear reason to do it, and it's profitability because of larger amounts of sales.
yep.
So I'm sure I could, I'm sure you could interview 6 different social entrepreneurs that would say either A, they wouldn't be in business, or B, they wouldn't have nearly the sales or exposure that they do if they didn't have a social mission. I can almost guarantee you that'd be the case. Would Tom's be successful if they weren't doing what they're doing? No, their shoes fucking sucked in the beginning. You know what I mean? Seriously.
Yeah, I know.
They were canvas wrapped shit pieces of like cardboard. Seriously.
No, trust me. I always was like, man, someone's paying $70 for that thing. Huh?
I know. It's like, what the hell?
But, like,
anyway, yeah.
No, I think you're right. I just do think you're right. And so I think, even at, like, whatever stage the business is at, I just do believe, like, even if, people that are not used to getting their employees involved, it to sum it all up, in my opinion, Benny, think about, okay, people are struggling with millennial engagement and, like, purpose and all these and profitability and in sales. And, like, this checks all the boxes. So it's like, get your head out of the sand and be like, man, like, it's probably worth engaging my employees to figure something out because it solves a lot of problems. Actually.
Frankly, that's why I get excited when we were talking. I think that's the opportunity, because to be straight up, I've dealt with a lot of manufacturers, dealt with a lot of people that are stuck in their ways, and they don't give a shit. They're not doing this. They're not going to implement the social cause, but that's an opportunity, right?
Yep. Yeah.
So
no, I appreciate it, man. Like, so if there was one thing to highlight, we know you and I are all over the place, but is there, one thing you actionable, or that something that we haven't covered that you want to leave the listeners? What would it be?
One of the things that, for this whole releasing your inner entrepreneur piece, that I kind of briefly mentioned, and really the goal of writing the book, is not for a bunch of people to go start businesses. That's a part of it, but for you to be more entrepreneurial in the job you're in, potentially is a better solution to help save the planet. But is conscious circle, as I call conscious circle. We've all heard the you are who you surround yourself with, or you're the accumulation of the 5 people you surround yourself with. Show me your friends, I'll show you the future. Right? We've all heard these kind of phrases. And what I developed, and what's in the book as well, is called conscious circle. And so it's 7 people that you're consciously picking to surround yourself with. And the key kind of word there is conscious. Is what I've seen a lot. And for those of you that want to go start a business, or for those of you who want to be more entrepreneurial, you're going to have to look at your circle. You're going to have to look at the people that you're surrounding yourself with, because I guarantee you, there's probably a reason. Those people around you are probably the reason you haven't started the thing that you've always wanted to do, straight up. So, the reason why I highlight the conscious part is, a lot of times we as humans, we as humans are programmed to like comfort. We're literally programmed to like comfort. And in order to get out of comfort, we have to consciously do that. Otherwise our time gets surrounded by our friends, our family, our coworkers that just happen to exist in that space.
Yep.
And when I realized, at least in my life, fuck, I don't want to, I looked at the kind of people I surrounded myself with, and I'm like, wow, that's not who I want to be. So who do I want to be like? And I literally wrote down a list of the people that I wanted to be like. And I had to consciously think, even now I have my list, and I consciously think about, if I want to be more like the person, I have to spend time with them. So who are the 7 people I'm spending time with, and consciously spending time with them and engaging with them in order to be the person that I want to become. For example, 2 or so years ago, basically I realized, I'm a religious guy, spiritual guy. And I realized, man, I really don't have anyone in my circle that is religious or spiritual anymore. I just kind of gotten on this entrepreneurship path and realized, oh, there's really no one in my life that can surround me with the spiritual talk that I want to be having. I want to be a more spiritual person for when I have a wife, kids, all that kind of stuff. So I consciously addressed that and said, wow, I got to make change here. So I literally had to, basically take 2 people out of the circle and go find 2 people that I wanted to surround myself with that were more spiritual. One of them was my spiritual and mentorship coach now that I have, and I still have, who is incredible and who I see usually like every other week. And then another one is a really good friend of mine as well. But I had to consciously think about that, and I had to consciously like replace that and stop hanging out with those other 2 people. And it wasn't like, that's not an easy thing. It's not an easy thing to say, well, man, fuck, we've been hanging out for a while, or like we're buddies or whatever. But like, Frank, I don't want to be like you. I don't. But surrounding myself with you is turning me into you. Mm-hmm. So anyway, one example, something to think about. I really dive into it deep in my book. So I would say go check out the book.
Awesome. And we're going to be linking to the book for everybody too. And what's the best way to get in touch with you? What's the Woodchuck website, and how do you find the book, everything?
Yeah, totally. Woodchuck website is woodchuckusa.com. My website is benvw, as in Victor and walrus.com. Yeah, check it out. Leave a review on Amazon. Contact me if you're interested in having me come out and help your team formulate that why.
Love it, Ben. Thanks so much for coming on the show, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Have a great one.